Okay. We are, this one? There we go. We are gonna go ahead and get started. So if you guys can finish up conversations, kind of find your seat, we're gonna go ahead and kick off this program tonight. But while you're doing that, don't feel like you need to rush. I'm gonna blab for a sec so you can get prepared a little bit. But I just want to thank you all so much for spending your Tuesday evening with us to celebrate entrepreneurship in Colorado Springs. You can't have a celebration about community without the community, so you all being here tonight is a huge blessing for us, and we really appreciate that. So thank you all so much for coming. And on the note of gratitude, I just want to also thank the people who helped make this event possible. So shout out to Ariana Pasquini for helping with this event immensely. And then Garrett Kicker, who's in the back, and he's going to be managing our virtual aspect of this event. The speaker is virtual, and so it takes a lot of technology to make that happen. And then also I want to thank Ryder up in the AV booth and the event services team for helping bring in this delicious meal. And of course, Goat Patch for bringing in that delicious beer that we have here tonight. So yes, perfect. Round of applause for all of those people. So, with that said, there is plenty of beer. So make sure that you are drinking as much as you possibly can, allegedly, okay? I didn't actually say that, but you thought I did. So make sure that that is the route for tonight. But during the program, please feel free to move about a little bit. There will be some transitionary periods, but please be respectful of the speakers and the program tonight. But if you feel the need to get up and move around, I think I need to take that down. Sorry, I forgot I was wearing that. But little housekeeping item, if you guys need to use the restroom, it is straight out this door to the right. And so if you follow that down this wall, the restroom is right there if you need to do that as well. And so, with that said, it is my honor to introduce the Chancellor of UCCS to kick off this event tonight.
That's good. Good evening, everybody. Wow, it's just so wonderful to see everybody here. And welcome to our Spark the Springs 2025. I want to thank EPIC, the El Pomar Institute for Innovation and Commercialization for tonight's event. I also want to give a couple of thank yous and also just some people that I see in the crowd today that it's so good to see Terry Bolt here, the founder of our Bachelor of Innovation, Tom Denning here, who's off to a wonderful new fun adventure. Dirk Hobbs, it was great to see you here. I also just want to say thank you to Luke, because not only has Luke been a big part of making tonight's event happen, he was honored this morning from Colorado Media Group as a 40 Under 40 award. So let's give Luke a little round of applause. Of course, I also want to thank Larry Plummer, who was our EPIC chair, who really makes today happen. And just so grateful to you, Larry, for all that you do for UCCS and for all of our students. I want to extend a very special welcome to Ben Sparks, our provost, Lynn Vidler, our dean of the College of Business, Tommy Eicher. My gosh, why did I just say that? I always say Tommy Eicher. Brandon Eldridge, Dirk Hobbs again, hello, good to see you. Jim Waldrop, so happy that you are here. And our friends from All Pro Capital and Classic Homes, who really made tonight special for us. Thank you all so much. Can we give them all a round of applause too? Tonight's event is a celebration of entrepreneurship in Colorado Springs, and it is truly inspiring to see so many leaders and entrepreneurs from UCCS and our community here tonight. At UCCS, innovation and entrepreneurship are at the heart of what we do as we advance research, build community partnerships, and equip the workforce of tomorrow. While we are an exceptional institution of higher learning, we are also the launch pad for both innovators and entrepreneurs, fueling the economic growth of the Pikes Peak region. Our charge as a university from day one has been to integrate ourselves into our community. We foster collaboration between students, faculty, businesses, and local leaders to catalyze Colorado Springs as a hub for groundbreaking ideas, talent retention, and high-growth startups. We are the home to the world's first and only Bachelor of Innovation. Thank you, Terry. Yes, let's give Terry a round of applause. Where is he? Raise your hand, Terry. And as well, we are the home of the Center for Entrepreneurship, C3 Innovation, and of course, EPIC. This is the reason that we are here tonight. EPIC provides opportunities for student startups through the garage, contributes to the region's entrepreneurial development with the Venture Attractor and Torch Grants initiatives. Thank you, Tom, for all of the work on that. And we've just added new programming for our military community through Entrepreneurship Bootcamp for veterans. And let's give a round of applause for that. That has just been something incredible that Larry has brought in just his short time here with us. Each of these efforts further intertwines UCCS with our community, allowing us to make that vision and mission of UCCS from our inception in 1965 through to today, which is our 60th anniversary is this year. It's made that a reality. And it just feels so special to be with all of you tonight, celebrating not only a 60th anniversary, but that our vision and our mission has been going strong for 60 years. And tonight, you all are taking that to a whole new level. So thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the risks to launch new ideas and bring innovation to Colorado Springs. Steve Jobs once said, "The people who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world are the ones who do." Exactly. So thank you all for being here. And I'm going to hand this over to our EPIC chair, Larry Plummer, to the stage for our Q&A.
I don't dance like Brandon, sorry. Good. Thank you, Chancellor Sobonnet. Thank you all for being here. Let's cut right into the conversation with Mr. Laurie. Is he on the Zoom call?
I'm on, if you hear me.
Yes, sir, we do. We just don't see you yet. Let me introduce you, Mr. Laurie. Mark Laurie is the founder and CEO of Wonder Group, a company that is revolutionizing the food industry by creating mealtime supper app, operating a collection of delivery-first restaurants in collaboration with some of the world's best chefs, and pioneering a new category of fast fine dining. Mr. Laurie is also an NBA owner, having purchased the Minnesota Timberwolves and Minnesota Lynx in spring of 2021 with his friend and business partner, Alex Rodriguez. And Mr. Laurie, we promise we've already scrubbed out all the questions about all the trades for the Timberwolves that you've made during the offseason, so that we will not ask you those. Prior to this, Laurie started and sold 4 companies, most recently Jet.com, which was acquired by Walmart in 2016 for $3.3 billion. Until 2021, Laurie served as the president and CEO of Walmart U.S. e-commerce, was also the co-founder and CEO of Quidsi, the parent company of e-commerce websites Diapers.com, Soap.com, Wag.com, and more. That company was sold to Amazon in 2011 for $550 million. So with that, please welcome Mr. Mark Laurie to the stage, or to virtually to the stage. It's a Zoom meeting, so you know how to... Hello, sir. I can see you there.
Can you see me now?
I can see you, but there you are. You're up on stage. Fantastic.
Okay.
So I'm going to start by asking you some questions. Mark, I actually want to start with a question on behalf of some of the students that we have here tonight. And going back to your days at Bucknell, by the way, I was just up the road from you. When you were at Bucknell, I was up at Syracuse. How and when did you know you wanted to be an entrepreneur?
So it wasn't, I think, a single day. When I was very little, like 4 years old, teacher asked us what we wanted to be when we grow up. And I said I wanted to be a farmer. And the teacher kind of wrote it in crayon, and I kind of colored in the lines. I brought it home, to my grandmother, and she said, "Oh, no, doctor or lawyer." I was the first person ever in our family to go to college, and nobody was a professional. And so she was convinced that I was going to be a professional doctor or lawyer. And I kept saying, no, I want to be a farmer. And I kind of stuck to that as a kid. And she said, why? And I said, because they grow stuff from nothing. And that basically is at the heart of what makes someone an entrepreneur, is wanting to grow something from nothing. So I always had that as a kid. I did every entrepreneurial venture you could think of as a kid. And, I went to college, and when I graduated, I had no money to do a startup and didn't know about joining a startup community or anything like that. I just sort of went to work for a bank. And this was in the 90s. And after about 6.5 years in banking, I had saved some money, and it was just haunting me, this idea that I was working for a bank when I wanted to just go out there and grow something from nothing. And so one day I just got the courage. I walked in my boss's office and I quit. And I said, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. And he said, well, that's not like normal, right? Like usually you have an idea, you have raised money or something. You don't just walk away from a $500,000 a year job at, 28 years old and say you're going to be an entrepreneur. And I said, well, I have to be all in on this, and I'm going to do it. And he said, you're serious? I said, yeah. And he said, all right, well, put me down for your first 50 grand when you figure out your idea. And that was my first 50 grand. And then from there, went on to raise money, and the rest is history.
I love it. So again, I'm just sticking with the theme of some of the younger next generation of entrepreneurs in the room. Is there any advice you have to some of our younger folks who are considering an entrepreneurial career?
I mean, first, just know how hard it is. So if you're considering it, I think it's important that you know what you need to give up. I like to say it's like eating glass every day. I mean, it is really, really hard. It's 100 hours a week. You're dealing with uncertainty. You really, have no idea where like the next round of financing is going to come from. So many unknowns in the business, and work-life balance is just not a thing. Like you work. It's very, very intense job. It's very stressful. And there's for those that are sort of crazy enough to want to put yourself through that because you love building something from nothing that much, like really focused on being a missionary, like wanting to see this exist. If you're doing it about the money or the ego or fame or that comes with being an entrepreneur, you're just never going to make it. And so that's something to know going in. But if you decide, no, I know, I understand it. I want to be an entrepreneur. I'm ready to do 100 hours a week. I'll do whatever it takes. Then it's really about taking that first step, not overthinking it. You're going to fail a lot. And so the more you fail, the faster you fail, the more you'll learn. And so I just tend to say, like, you want to jump into it. Don't wait for the perfect idea. There's no perfect idea. Any idea can work. It's going to come down to execution. It's going to come down to, a really good story combined with great people and the ability to raise capital. And you're going to twist and turn. And the idea that you start with is not the idea that you're going to end with. And so you just got to kind of jump into it.
It's funny because you probably couldn't see the audience, but when you were talking about how hard being an entrepreneur was, some of the folks I know who've been an entrepreneur a long time were nodding their heads like, yep. So absolutely, you're hitting the number on that one. You've been involved with companies of all sizes, from startups to major corporations. Any personal qualities that jump out to you for being a successful entrepreneur? Things, maybe even not even personal qualities, but just things that we can develop in terms of making ourselves more likely to be successful as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I mean, one is just straight, you got to be willing to outwork everyone else. So that's number one. I think you have to be comfortable taking risk and failing. So if you're like an A student, always been an A student, you're not going to like entrepreneurship. Lots of C's, B's, and even F's. Lots of bad grades because you're wrong more than you're right, and that's just the way it is because you're moving fast. So in entrepreneurship, if you don't move fast, you die. So you have to move fast. When you're moving fast, you're having to take a lot of risk, and you fail quite a bit. And so I would say the ability to take risk, work hard, deal with failure. You have to be emotionally stable because you have no time to think about past failures and you have no time to worry about what might go wrong in the future, which many normal people do. There's no time for that. So you have to be, I think, very centered emotionally, work hard, take risk, and also be, a crazy optimist, believe anything's possible. It's so hard, and people always tell you why something's not going to work, and you have to just believe and be persistent. And if I had to sum up, though, what an entrepreneurship is able to do that normal people aren't able to do, it is to work crazy hours for something that has a very low probability success. There's a lot of people that can work hard when they know that their work effort is proportionate to what they get paid. It's like, but entrepreneurs, they put a crazy amount of time in something, and it might only have a 10% probability of success. That's really what distinguishes an entrepreneur, in my opinion. And, it's those 10% shots that require a crazy amount of work that most people shy away from. Well, that's where the opportunity lies for entrepreneurs. And so if you're willing to go there, if you're willing to work 100 hours a week, over week after week after week, not have any certainty around whether you're going to make it or not, and just continue to stay at it and believe, then you should really consider being an entrepreneur.
And for those of you in the room who are going to be taking ENTP 3100 with me next fall, the operative word won't be change, it will be pivot. We'll be talking basically about the art of the pivot, of trying to find your way into the right sweet spot for your idea and your solution. So let's talk a little bit more about the startup process. So some business leaders are working to disrupt industries in with high consumer costs. Are there sectors where you see an opportunity to drive meaningful change through business, startup, and entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big believer that you don't overcomplicate it. Look for big markets, big total addressable market that's hot and has tailwinds right now. Because that's where the venture capital money is being invested, and it's much easier to get venture capital if it's a hot sector. It's very hard to go into a sector that venture capitalists in general aren't putting money into. So, where is money going now? AI. AI is getting the vast majority of venture capital attention right now. If I was doing something from scratch today, it'd be definitely with AI, whether it be, I think consumer AI is coming fast and furious. I would be all over that. I think longevity is another area. I think, I'm in food delivery. I think food delivery has exploded over the last 10 years and will continue to grow at a very fast clip. So those are some of the areas I would be focused on.
It's what's remarkable about getting prepared for this discussion with you is not only have you had great success, but you've had great success in such hyper-competitive markets. That's kind of one of your hallmarks in a way. So I'm just wondering about when you launch a business in a competitive space, how do you differentiate yourself and build your brand so that it stands out?
Yeah, I mean, it starts with, if the market's big enough, there's going to be opportunities. It always start with the customer and work backwards. So as a startup, one of the advantages you have is that you can create a customer value prop that outshines the sort of big incumbent players because you're laser focused, you've got a small lean team to start, and you're able to go over and beyond and do things for the customer that you won't be able to do as you scale, but it enables you to create that brand that customers love. And then over time, as you start to scale, then the economics start to make sense. But it's really important at that early stage is that you create a brand that customers absolutely love, not a little bit better than the competition, but with separation. And you work backwards from that. It's not about, most people think about starting a company and they day one want to make the economics work. And they say, okay, given I have to make money, what's the best I can offer a customer today? And that's not the right way to look at it. The right way to look at it is I have to offer the customer something much better than is already in the market. So I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to figure out how to make it economically viable as I scale. At least in the latter case, the company will always have value because you have a real brand, even if you're not making money. In the former, you really don't have anything. If the customers don't love your product, then it doesn't matter how profitable it is. It's not going to be worth very much.
So this is a perfect segue to my next question. So you've actually scaled multiple businesses. Is there a common set of patterns or tactics that you've used to scale, or is each scaling situation sort of unique to each business?
I think it's a little unique, but it's also really good capital planning up front. So not many people just say, okay, I'm going to start this business. They go out and they say, I'm going to raise $1 million. What I do is I figure out what's the size of this market? How big of a company can I create in 5 or 10 years? And then work backwards and figure out how much capital am I going to need? And I actually set up fundraising rounds. Okay, this is what I need in the seed. This is what I need in the A, with the B, the C, the D round. I try and double the amount of money raised and double the valuation with every round. And a nice clean rule that I like to use is the first round should be 1/250th of whatever the exit valuation you're targeting. So if you're targeting a unicorn and you want to create a $1 billion company with a $1 billion exit, needs to be supported by the market size. But once you're convinced that a $1 billion exit is reasonable, divide by 250, that's your seed round. That's $4 million. Raise $4 million at a 12 pre, give up 25% of the company. So that's your starting point. And then each round, every 18 months, try and double the valuation, double the amount raised. So the next round would be raise 8 million. And if you're at a 12 pre, 16 million post, the next round, double it, is a 32 million pre. So you should be targeting, I need to raise 8 million at a 32 pre. And you want to make sure that with the capital you raise, the first 4 million, you can invest that capital in such a way that the company is doubled in value. And that's what I'm thinking about. I basically mapped that out from day one. And that's a really important step that most founders miss, is either undercapitalizing, overcapitalizing, not understanding how much capital they need and what they need to prove with each round of financing.
Again, this is a great segue because I wanted to take you exactly into the lessons you've learned over the years about raising capital, and maybe even some of the mistakes you've made along the route in terms of raising capital. Just curious to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I've made a lot of mistakes. I've raised, I was trying to count before I got on this call. I think I've done 15 rounds of venture capital and have had hundreds of investors. I did around 2,000 venture capital pitches in my career, raising over $3 billion. So that's kind of the stats. So I'm kind of a sort of professional fundraiser, I guess you can say, having done it for 25 years. So I've learned a lot over the course of that time. I've made a lot of mistakes. Some of the ones that come to mind, one is, worried about dilution. Founders, when they talk about, I don't know if I want to raise money because then I'm going to get diluted, I'll own less of the company. That really it shouldn't matter, because when you raise money, whatever dilution you're taking, that capital you raise, you should be able to invest back into the business and do better in terms of appreciation than the dilution you suffered. You should always be able to do that. It's relatively straightforward. And yet so many founders sit there and continue to worry about dilution. You should raise as much money as you can. It's very, very hard to raise money, especially in good markets. People get they think that's the way it is. The markets go up and down. Sometimes it's easy to raise money. Generally, sometimes it's really hard. Different sectors run into headwinds or tailwinds for whatever reason, and you have to be alert to that. So I would say raise more money than you think. Don't worry about dilution. I would say make sure you have a capital plan. Those are the things that sort of come to mind. And I would also say, if you have the luxury of multiple investors interested, definitely, if they're going to be on the board, definitely find someone, an investor, that really gets your vision and you're aligned with. If they don't align with your vision, and sometimes that happens, they'll invest, but not fully aligned. They think they're going to get you to kind of move in a different direction. I would be very wary of that.
I think one of the things teaching novice entrepreneurs that's interesting is encouraging the idea that you don't always have to, just because you're being offered money by, say, a VC, let's say it's a seed or a Series A, you don't have to take the money if you don't feel that you're a good fit with the VC. I'm just curious, have you ever actually had a deal where you've said no thanks because they want to have somebody on the board or they want to replace some of your executives? Have you ever actually turned down VC funding?
I wish I could say I had the luxury of doing that. No, I've always taken the money. But
Okay, well, there goes that lecture. I'm going to have to throw that one out.
no, it's so hard to raise money, man. Like when you finally get that investor convinced to write you a check, it's like you're just not in a position to say no. It's you get the best terms you can. And I would always fight for, control, being able to make decisions, versus valuation. So they'll always pick valuation over control. So you could always sell that. Some of the, give them a better price to make sure you have board control or more control in the company. There's always a way to do that. So I usually opted for that. Hey, I'll give you even better valuation. I just want to make sure I could keep control of the board. That's something you can do and negotiate, and they're often open to that.
Have you ever had much success in non-dilutive sources of capital? Have you ever done any kind of debenture models, any borrowing? Because some of the entrepreneurs that are in the room, you can't see them, have actually had quite a lot of success with, for example, with government STTRs, and which would be non-dilutive sources of capital. Just curious to know your thoughts on that.
Yeah, if you can get it, that's great. I've never had the opportunity to get non-dilutive capital. I've used venture debt. I mean, it's a little dilutive because of the warrants. So definitely coupling venture debt with that equity could be a nice way. Unique of an entrepreneur, I like raising a lot of capital and going after really big outcomes. And the more money you raise, I think the easier it is to create a big valuation company. At Wonder, my current company now, I've raised about $2 billion. And the company was just recently valued at $8 billion. But think about how hard it would be to create an $8 billion business with 10 or 20 or even 50 or 100 million of capital. It's really next to impossible. But if you said, can you create an $8 billion business with $2 billion in capital? That sounds a lot easier. And I kind of opt for that. I like creating big businesses. And in order to do that, you need a lot of capital. And so that's why I never shy away from capital. I never turn it down, raise as much as I can, and then figure out how to get to the exit quicker. Exit meaning not necessarily a sale, but IPO or liquidity for shareholders or whatever it is. But there's always a way to invest capital and get a better return on it if you're in a big TAM market. Now, if you're doing something niche, then everything I said goes out the window. But my recommendation would be go after a market with a big total addressable market and then raise a lot of capital. And the other thing about raising a lot of capital is it becomes a moat. Other businesses, startups and things, you have a big advantage. You have better people, you have better press, you get, just you're able to do more. You're able to invest more in marketing and the brand, suffer more pain than the competitors. So lots of advantages of raising a lot of capital.
I want to take you in a new direction a little bit here. Many young entrepreneurs want to build companies with both financial success and social impact. So what advice do you have for balancing profitability with making a positive difference through your ventures?
I'm not like, I have a strong opinion about this, so I'm not probably going to give you the answer you want to hear. Like, I think it's either or, honestly. Like, I think either because it is so hard to raise money from venture capitalists and they want a return, to simultaneously do that while, doing a business for social good is usually in conflict, and it's really tough. I've seen entrepreneurs try it. Some have been successful, but most not. It's very, very hard to do both. I think if you're going to do something for social good and you have a lot of passion for that, I would do a not-for-profit. But if you want to, go out and raise venture capital, then it would be a for-profit business. Could you have a mission that has a social good component? Absolutely. I'm not saying that. Like, at Wonder, our mission is to make great food more accessible. So we're making good food accessible to people that don't have access to it. That's doing social good, but it's also like very good economically for Wonder and for the shareholders. If you do something that has social good that's in conflict with making money, that's where you kind of run into a problem. And so I've kind of, in my life, I have my sort of like social good, not-for-profit kind of thing, and then I've got my for-profit, still with a mission that matters in the world, but you just got to be careful. It doesn't, you don't get conflicted there.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it's interesting you bring up philanthropy and so on, because it's we know that a new entrepreneur can exit, they become the next generation of investors, and then presumably will become the next generation of philanthropists. So I'm just curious to know about how do you personally think about giving back, and are there particular causes that you feel passionate about supporting? Yeah,
so there's a number of different charities that I give to. The thing that I'm most passionate about, I've put a lot of money and will do and be my legacy once I finish out on Wonder, is building a new city of the future. That's a not-for-profit. It's Telosa, and it's really proving a new model for society. So I'm sort of just watching the world be divided, or not the world, but the U.S. be divided, and I think there's got to be a better way. And I've come up with this idea for this new model for society called equitism, and I want to invest all my money into it to prove that a new model can work, a more equitable model. So it's basically, think about this: Telosa Foundation is going to buy worthless land, enough acreage to build a city of 5 million people, and all the appreciation of the land from what is virtually worthless into a thriving metropolis, like all that land value would accrue back to the citizens that move there. And it would accrue back to them in the form of the best social services in the world: medical, education, jobs training. So if you move to the city and live in the city, you'll get the best social services of any country in the world without having to pay taxes. It would be all funded by the Telosa Community Foundation that got its money simply from the appreciation of the land that it owned before 5 million people moved there. So there's a lot more to it, but that's in a nutshell. That's where all my money's going to go.
Well, that's really interesting. So here's a question for you. Do you approach a project like this the same way you approach your other startups? Do you carry the same mindset into launching a community, a major philanthropic project like that?
Yeah, exactly the same. Same thing with the Minnesota Timberwolves and Lynx basketball, whether it's a basketball team, a city, a business, it's the same principles that apply. Is you have to set that vision and work backwards and make sure you capitalize it correctly, and you keep the customer, or in this case, the resident of the city, like top of mind. Like that, you're building this city to give the residents a higher quality of life, and that is the core tenet. And then you sort of work around that. But it's just the same as with any business, product, service. The same thing.
So I want to talk a little bit about you, and yes, I'm going to ask you if you're still sprinting because I read the article about you. I'm going to let him tell the story about the charity event in a minute. But work-life balance is. So I want to talk more about you and how you approach your work. Work-life balance is a challenge for entrepreneurs. Looking back, were there moments where you had to make trade-offs between work, family, and personal passions? And how do you advise entrepreneurs to navigate that balance? You said earlier that there isn't much balance.
There's no balance. You have to be realistic. Like, you're not going to have balance. Okay. You can definitely leave some room, for family and friends. You're going to have, but if you do that, you're going to have to give up all your extracurricular activity, all your passion, other things you do. And you're going to have to find ways to simplify your life so that you're spending very little time on things that are not family or work. And so that's the realistic truth. Like, you have to be prepared for that. Trying to be an entrepreneur and balance and say, yeah, I'm an entrepreneur and I was able to balance my life and I kind of do a little bit of everything. That's just bullshit. Like, that is, then you just one in a million. Like, all entrepreneurs eat glass, they struggle, it's hard, they think about it nonstop, 7 days a week, morning till night. I fall asleep every night still after all the exits. Like, I'm in this thing and I'm in it to win it. And I fall asleep every night, running scenarios through my head. I've managed to outsource just about everything a human could possibly outsource because I do want to leave some time for family. But nothing else. It's like even the Timberwolves. If I'm going to a game and flying out, I'm working on the plane there. I'm working, during the game. Even I'm working at halftime. I'm working after on the plane home. Like, it's nonstop, and that's that's what it takes if you want to be and create a big company.
So I'm going to have two more questions for you. I have one question for you is, and if you'll indulge me, I ask this of every entrepreneur that I have had a chance to talk to, especially in a public setting like this or in my class. If you're comfortable sharing this, I would like to know, what is your biggest, worst failure experience you've had and what you learned from that?
I've had so many, more than I could possibly ever remember or count, sort of like failures on the way to these successful startup exits. So I haven't had a startup fail, but I've had a lot of failures inside of the startup. So, for example, even at Wonder, my current startup, the original business model was we would drive a Mercedes Sprinter van to your house and cook your meal right outside your house and bring it to your door. Like, talk about hot, fast, great quality delivered food. It was incredible. We had 450 trucks on the road, and that model was really challenged for a number of reasons, and had to make the hard decision to sell all 450 trucks, take a huge loss, and start with a new model, which was focused on brick and mortars. So, like, I don't know, was that a failure? Yeah, on the way to where we are now, we're a very successful company. Everything with the brick and mortar worked out better than we could have expected. But yeah, those trucks were a failure. Spending a couple of years on those trucks, losing $80 million, like, that was a failure. Every single company, there's some major failure and lots of micro failures. The question is, how do you react to the failure? I think most people, when they're dealing with something that is really tough, they're not objective about the risk and being objective about where they really are. And so they get frozen and they don't have the guts to, like, make a hard call or take the risk to do something different. it's the entrepreneurs that survive are the ones that are able to identify when there is a failure, identify it very quickly, be objective that this is a failing, and then pivot quickly into something else. And I think the entrepreneurs that I've talked to that I know they've been really successful, that have ate glass, that have pivoted, they've been able to do that. Recognize it, be objective, and move quickly. And then ones that have failed just wed to their idea, and they're just like, you have a parachute on this plane, and the plane's nose diving, and they just refuse to put the parachute on and jump because it means, that whatever they were working on is a failure. And I think it's okay. Like, it's okay to fail. It's okay for that plane to crash. If you get back on the ground and then start building something else. But you got to do it quick enough, because if you don't do it quick enough, there's not enough, altitude to survive. You got to give your parachute time to open up and have a safe landing. So most entrepreneurs wait too late, the ones that have startups that don't make it.
Back in the 2000s, when I was working on my PhD, there was a startup out of Silicon Valley that wanted to publish a magazine called Failure. That was going to be the title of it. And it didn't work because they couldn't get anybody to appear on the cover of the magazine. I have a question for you. You're being piped in. You're coming to us to Olympic City. This is Olympic City. We are, the U.S. Olympic Committee is here. All the national governing bodies are here. You are an athlete. And it sounds from what I've been reading and watching on your interviews, you were a pretty elite athlete. How does being an athlete shape? Because I'm wondering if that's the source of so much resilience in your life.
I think, I don't know how much, there's a lot of athletes that aren't entrepreneurs and there's some that are. I don't know if there's any correlation. I think athletes know what it takes. You got to put in the work to get the benefit. The work ethic, athletes tend to have a good work ethic and they're not afraid of hard work. But nowhere is athletics I'm going to work really, really, really hard for a very low probability of usually it's sort of proportionate. The harder you work, the better you're going to do. Doesn't mean you're going to win, but it is proportionate. You put the work in and you get the benefit. That's what you're taught. It's not like that in entrepreneurship. You put all the work in, work harder than anybody else in the world, and still fail. And so that's really, it's like you need to have a different mentality. It's a different mindset of somebody that can remain optimistic when the odds are stacked against you, and to work so hard knowing you're most likely going to fail. That's really hard.
We have just a few minutes left. I was wondering, I can't leave the audience hanging. Would you mind sharing the story about the charity athletic event and who you beat in a flat-out sprint?
Oh, yeah, this is a few years ago. I challenged Jerry Rice. He was kind of fit at the time, and we went to the NFL Combine and challenged him to a 40-yard dash for charity. It was actually like a $250,000 bet, and the loser had to donate to St. Jude, $250,000. So it was a real race. And he was obviously a lot more fit than me, but I was a sprinter in college. And so I thought, okay, I have enough time. I'm going to get back in sprinting shape. And so I trained really hard that year and went to the Combine, and I did in fact beat Jerry Rice. And that's my.
You still talk to him? Does he still talk to you, or is he mad at you?
No, we actually became friends. Invested in this company. We talk all the time. So yeah, it was actually a real good bonding event. And I wound up donating to St. Jude anyway, so they got two donations. So it was good result for everyone all around. But super fun. It was a great experience. And
well, next we need to get you to challenge an offensive lineman to I played offensive line, and I've been put on this earth to be a stationary object, so we need to have a different challenge the next time you do this. Sir, we're a little out of time, but it's been fantastic to have you here. Any last thoughts, any last words of wisdom you want to share there's multiple generations of entrepreneurs in the room. There's folks from the city, there's folks from the university. Any last thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't get a chance to talk about this, but I'm a big believer in leading with kindness and empathy and giving more than you take. And that, I've always lived by that. And I'll just leave you with that because it's not something you typically hear from CEOs and entrepreneurs, but I really believe in it. I think it builds trust. It builds, people really want to get behind people that they respect and that they look up to. And I think people always look up to people that are kind and empathetic, and I think that'll take you far. So I'll leave you with that.
That resonates because I wanted the audience to know that Mr. Laurie reached out to us through Luke. He is making a concerted effort to reach out to schools that often don't have a chance to meet somebody with this level of success and experience to share his time with a group like us. So thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it. Mr. Mark Laurie, everybody, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good luck, everyone. I hope to see some entrepreneurs come out of here one day.
Thank you, sir. That was fantastic. He ruined a couple of classes of mine because one, he said he's never had a failure. That's unusual. And then I have to now throw out an entire lecture, so I need to redo my dean is saying no. Okay. With that, I would like to invite my friend Tommy Eicher up here, huge mentor. I've had success since joining the faculty here, and he and some other folks at the table, Lynn especially, but Tommy has been such a great mentor to me and a friend, and I want to invite him to the stage. Come on up, Tommy.
Gather round, what we have is a brand new sound. Reach from my waist, you hit the ground. You better duck when that awful sound goes. Yeah, that's what's happening in the parking lot.
So Luke asked me to pick my walk-up song, and that has been my walk-up song for like about 2 decades. For my hip-hop fans in the room, if you could name it later, I would have a prize. I don't know what it will be. But anyway, well, first, let's thank Mark Laurie. I know he can't hear us. Maybe he can. But I think it's worth giving him another round of applause for all the drops of wisdom he gave. We also want to thank some of our special guests, Chancellor, for being here, Chancellor Sobonnet, as well as our Provost Vidler for being here. And I do want to give a special mention and a shout out to Tom Denning, the originator and founder of Spark the Springs and all of the programming that we offer here in the College of Business through EPIC and the Center for Entrepreneurship. So Tom, thank you for everything you've done. Next, I have to thank Larry, because apparently I'm his mentor, which is fun. I think I learn more about the entrepreneurship world every time I talk to him. I am so lost in this space. I just give him the ball and let him run with it. And one, Tom gave him a great ball to run with. 2, he's got great ideas, and I love supporting and working with him through this journey. The Entrepreneurship Bootcamp for Veterans was a key thing in his interview process that I said, we have to have that in Colorado Springs. The day he arrived, I said, how do we make it happen? And he's made it happen because we'll have our first cohort this summer, and I'm grateful for all that work that he has done. So thank you, Larry. And of course, I would be remiss because while Tom and Larry are great visionaries, someone's got to do all the work behind them. And he's done an amazing job for the event tonight. He leads all of our venture attractor programming and everything like that. So let's give a loud, warm welcome and applause for Luke for everything he does. Another person who stepped up to support Luke is new to the College of Business, and she is our event and marketing coordinator, and that is Melissa Dinwiddie. So Melissa, thank you for all you've done. And of course, our hosts, all of the catering event services for providing this wonderful environment for us. We're grateful to them. And lastly, and most importantly in a lot of ways, to all of our donors who have supported us in this journey from the day that Tom first had this idea to tonight and giving us the resources that we need to make a difference in the community that we are a big part of. So thank you to all our donors, including Al Pomar Foundation, Jim Waldrop, of course. Have you made it yet? I have not seen you. All Pro Capital and Ben Sparks. So thank you all for everything you have done to support us in this journey. So thank you. With that, when you give a dean a mic and a clicker, I'm going to be up here all night. So, not really. I got 10 minutes and I'll get through this in about 5. In the College of Business, we have our vision. And the vision is that we are building the business of building successful futures. A lot of times when we take that vision, we immediately apply it to our students because we think that the only people that we serve in this community is our students. They are a major priority, and you'll see that in a second. But we also serve our community. We are also trying to make Colorado Springs a brighter future. UCCS have a brighter future. All of our partners who engage with us, we want to have successful and bright futures. So we want to partner with our community members, and we do so through a lot of different ways. And tonight is a reflection of that. Tonight is also a good reflection of our core values for the College of Business. The first of which is our learners first. All of the work that Tom has done, Larry has done, and our faculty do puts learning at the forefront for not just our undergraduate students, not just our graduate students, but also our community members. We truly believe in lifelong learning, and this programming is a part of that vision of lifelong learning. Our entrepreneurs aren't always students who enter our programs, be it the Scale to 1 Million, the Venture Attractor, and we'll learn about our Torch Grant winner later tonight. But ultimately, that's that lifelong journey that we are investing in, and we are partnering alongside you to make sure that you are successful and apparently you don't experience failure. I think I failed like 5 times today, so different worlds. The second value is building community. If you look around the room, you see students in the audience. You see some of our donors. You see our college and campus leadership. You see people who are in this room who support them, faculty, as well as our community members. This is the community coming together around a common vision that entrepreneurship can be the future of this region. And it's an important piece of what we do here. And that shows in all of the work that Tom and Larry have done to create the programming that leads to tonight. Tonight is a wonderful celebration, but ultimately, it's the journey that gets us here that is really where all the work is done and all the things that we accomplish are achieved. The last piece is make a difference. I was a judge for the pitch competitions this year, and I was excited to see some of the work, and I'm elated that Colin is going to speak later. Because the companies that we see all make a difference. It could be as something as simple and as important as having stinky soccer cleats that creates a company that is amazing. And as a former soccer player, I wish that Raphael was alive in the 80s because I am sure that my parents would have appreciated a much nicer smelling car, closet, bedroom, all the things associated with my soccer gear. But that's a difference maker in a very different way. In the community, we make a difference through our research by our faculty, through programming like this, through our professional pathways that help people retool, reskill, upskill, and really change their lives as they go through this journey. So we are trying to be the difference makers here, and that's why it's our last key value. This ends with what we achieve when we do great things. So first, we are a top MBA program, be it part-time, but we are in the top 100 in the country, according to U.S. News and World Report. We are also in the top 100 in an online MBA program, according to U.S. News and World Report, right? That's success for us. One that I love is the top 10 military institution. That's not just the College of Business, that is this institution. Yeah. In a community like this, that is a very important group to serve as they have served us so well. Lastly, and I'm very proud to announce that we have been now AACSB accredited for 35 years, and we will still be accredited for the next 6 years because they changed it from 5 to 6, thank God. But this puts us, to give you an idea of what AACSB means, this puts us in the top 6% of business schools in the country. So when you look at the Ivies and you look at the land grants and you look at those prominent institutions that we can name off the top of our head, we are the same. The level of education that we provide at this institution is the same level of education you're going to get at any of those other schools because we have the exact same accreditation as them. And I appreciate the applause, and I am going to deflect all of that to my wonderful team because it takes a team. We see that with our entrepreneurial journeys. We see that with our businesses that are successful. We see that in our college. We see that on our campus. And we see that in this wonderful community. I've been in this community now 7 years, and the thing that makes this community so much different than any other place that I have lived is not the school, it's not the big institutions, it's the fact that all of us work together and we always come together for a common cause and a common journey. So for the community members in the room, I'll end with this. Thank you very much for that. Speaking of all of our successes, I'd like to show you some of the Venture Attractor successes. So there's gonna be a short video that's gonna play and show you all the great work that's happening through the Venture Attractor program. Thank you.
My name is Michelle Fredolino. I am with Altitude Movement. We are an obstacle base facility here in Colorado Springs. Our primary sports are ninja obstacle, parkour, and obstacle course racing. We do work closely with USA Pentathlon as well. Ninja obstacle is their brand new 5th sport as of Paris 2024.
My name is Rafael De La Vega. Originally from Bolivia. I came here and started Salt Athletic. We are a company that makes premium athletic bags made with proprietary technology that's anti-odor, antimicrobial. At this point, we've been very successful in the soccer market, and now we're expanding to new products and new patents as well to keep pushing this technology forward.
I'm Ethan Thompson.
And I'm Joel Thompson.
And we're SemiGear.com. We deliver skis, bikes, and golf clubs for outdoor adventure enthusiasts and allow them to skip the baggage claim and some of the nightmares of traveling with your equipment.
My name's Jet Johnson. I am the CEO and founder of Leadfoot Racing. We're an automotive manufacturing company whose goal is to get people involved in the world of motorsports.
Hi, my name's John, and I'm the owner of Defender Imports. We are a veteran-owned and Colorado-based business that specializes in classic Land Rover Defenders. Over the last 4 years, the business has evolved drastically from what started as a part-time side hustle in the office in the basement of my home to the building that we now occupy. We now have a 6,000 square foot building. We have 7 employees. We offer a full suite of mechanical services, custom fabrication and restoration services, paint and body services, as well as import and consignment sales services.
So we received the Torch Grant right about the time where we had done a total lifetime sales of $50,000. We are here speaking $3 million in sales later. We've grown like crazy. We have a national footprint that's very well established. Every major city in the United States has multiple Salt customers. We also have an international presence as well. Yeah, we went from being a company that had a little bit of promise and a tad bit of initial traction to essentially being #1 in our market category for our product segment.
The Torch Grant and the benefits of that have allowed us to really grow into that intermediate, advanced, and elite level athlete arena. We've been able to purchase some equipment that allows us to be more competitive or allows our athletes to train at that higher competitive level. We also had the opportunity to host several events catering to that group of athletes and that level athlete. As those sports move towards the Olympic movement, we'll be in the middle of the conversation as well as potentially having athletes competing in LA 2028.
So when we initially got the Torch Grant, we were at basically building our first car. Since then, we've built 3 cars, designed 5 different ones. With the rental side, we're up to 4 rental race cars, and we're also looking to expand up to 11 of the cars.
It's been incredible how much the Torch Grant has helped us to fund our initial startup. It's helped us gain some new employees, gain some metrics in the shipping space, and the continuous learning process. The money and the provisions that the Torch Grant have brought us have been incredible, not to mention the mentorship and fellowship that came along with it.
We used the Torch Grant to fund a Defender vehicle project. This was a project that really put our business on the map within the Land Rover community and has caught the attention of a lot of discerning, but also high-end customers that are looking to spend big money on well-built trucks. And we saw a 100% increase in sales revenue between 2023 and 2024. At the end of 2024, we did just over $250,000 in sales, and we're currently on glide path to do just over $500,000 in sales by the end of 2025.
Well, Colorado Springs is an amazing place to be, especially if you're in sport. So not only do we have the Olympic movement here, we have Colorado Springs Sports Corp. We've also worked closely with USA Pentathlon, which is located here in Colorado Springs. But then, of course, there are the small business resources that are in Colorado Springs, from the Small Business Development Center, as well as Exponential Impact.
So I would say this is a community that rallies around you and goes to do everything they can to make you successful. The university, UCCS, has been pivotal for our success. XI has been so instrumental for our success. The Survive and Thrive program that adds very, very favorable financing. Beyond the help that they've lent, sometimes having a group of people that believes in you puts the wind in your sails to help you go and do what you know needs to get done.
You don't know what's going to work and what's going to get you to that end goal. You just always have to remember, this is where I want to go, this is where I'm starting out, and then find friends along the way to help you get there.
The biggest thing is don't try to do it all yourself. Although you may have great ideas, there's an entire community of people who want to support you and help you in Colorado Springs, whether it be UCCS, Exponential Impact, Epic, any of the business mentors. There's always people around who are willing to help and have such a vast depth of knowledge that you can find out a little bit of everything about whatever problems you may be encountering.
I'd like to thank my wife first and foremost. She's the one who let me chase my dream. She said, yep, go for it. No, you don't have to get a big boy job.
I'd like to shout out to everybody at Exponential Impact staff, Jim Waldrop specifically, from the Epic. He was our mentor there.
One, I'm very thankful to my family, especially. My son actually is potentially one of the kids who may be in LA 2028. So it's really exciting to be on that grassroots level.
Shout out God, shout out my mom, shout out all my family, Jim Waldrop.
The entrepreneurial ecosystem that we've had the opportunity to be involved with has really been intrinsic to the foundations that we've created with our business. And without it, we wouldn't be as far along as we are. So we're incredibly thankful for it.
To have such a wonderful ecosystem set of players, I want to reinforce my personal thanks to our friends at Exponential Impact, Catalyst Campus, SBDC, my new friends at the VBOC, the Veterans Business Outreach Center, because we are also going to be launching our Entrepreneurship Boot Camp for Veterans program. And that is just, I've been involved with multiple city-level ecosystems before. That comment about rallying, this community, the ecosystem players, we are all making sure that every company that comes to Colorado Springs that gets started here is going to be a success. And I want to say my personal thanks to all my friends from XI, Catalyst Campus, SBDC. The folks from BBOC are not here, but if you ever see them, tell them I said hey. And so just so to put a fine point on it, we have cohorts of companies that come through the Scale to 1 Million Boot Up Camp that Tom and everybody else started before I got here. And then those cohort of companies get to compete for a Torch Grant. $50,000 non-dilutive if they will commit to setting up operations here in Colorado Springs for at least a year. And this is the success we've had. $255,000 invested, leading to an additional $750,000 of capital, $3.7 million in revenue generated, 19 jobs here in the Springs created. You can see across the 5 cohorts, and we got Aerosport here today. And the future companies that may come through the Venture Attractor programs includes our students over here in the garage, which is another program we run. If you're looking for a safety device to add to your longboard or your skateboard, he's over there. I've already told him I will never use his product, but doesn't mean we're not going to help him get it started. And so we are going to be continuing to build the cohort of companies that come through programs like the Venture Attractor and the Torch Grants. And with that, I'm actually going to want to make sure that I go through this slide a little differently. We do want to thank Jim Waldrop. Unfortunately, he's not able to be here tonight last minute. He is the sponsor for tonight's event. So I know he's not here, but could everybody just give a round of applause for Jim and the College of Business for supporting tonight's event. Of course, we also have the in-kind donations. I'm not going to say who it was, but they're sitting over here at the sponsor table. I said, are you coming? Yeah, there's Goat Patch Beer. We're in. And with that, I want to say that thanks to our new friends, my new friends from Classic Homes and All Pro Capital, I can now say we have one torch grant that is now fully funded for the next 4 years, and a second torch grant that's half funded for 4 years. So if you're interested in matching their funds, come see me. I'll be over where the keg is, okay? And I want to specifically give a shout out to both Classic Homes and All Pro Capital for believing in what we're doing to boost entrepreneurship here at the university and in the city. Thank you very much. As stated, we will be launching our first Entrepreneurship Boot Camp for Veterans program. This is in partnership with Syracuse University. We'll be doing it in August. We'll have a smaller cohort of 20 veterans. If you are a veteran entrepreneur, please come see me. We do have open applications for people that want to be students. I'm also looking always for veteran entrepreneurs that want to share their experiences as mentors, guest speakers, and so on. So there's plenty of opportunities for everybody to get involved here. So with that, I think this leads me to the next thing, which is to announce am I announcing now? Okay. Colin, come on up. Sorry, show the video. Sorry, that's right, sorry. Luke's in charge, it's his fault, it's not on the notes.
I am Colin Plover, the founder and CEO of Nightingale Caring Solutions, and we help nurses in hospitals. So fundamentally, nurses are the backbones of healthcare systems. They provide the vast majority of care, and we rely on them to be available and at the bedside 24/7. And yet nurses are pulled away from the bedside for a host of reasons, often asked to do operations tasks that they're not trained for and they don't have data and analytics to do well. And so that's where Nightingale comes in. We provide bespoke software for a host of challenges that nurses need to solve, workforce challenges, and one of them is the nurse patient assignment. So we've developed customized software to help nurses so that they can spend more time caring for patients and less time on the minutia of trying to make matches between nurses and patients for the next shift. So right now we are iterating on the technology. So we are working with a healthcare system right now, and those nurses are giving us tremendous feedback, and we are kind of developing more elements of the technology, so additional aspects of the technology, and also additional kind of platforms. So right now there's a web interface that they can interact with and use, and they suggested that we, in addition, develop a way for them to interact with that on a phone. So we are currently in the design phase of a version that they can interact with on a phone so that they can make adjustments to the nurse-patient assignment wherever they are on the unit. So it's refining what we have now, making improvements to that, as well as developing other aspects of the technology. Well, we hope to be making more connections in the community within healthcare systems and beyond to try and learn more from the needs of nurses in this local ecosystem and how we can tailor the technology to the needs of nurses and healthcare systems here. So I hope to be building my network and learning how we can further tailor this technology to this ecosystem, and then ideally continue to develop other technologies that help the nurses and healthcare systems operate more efficiently and deliver higher quality of care. I'm very excited about this vibrant innovation community here. So one of the things that I've been able to witness firsthand, luckily on this trip already, is this growing ecosystem of innovation and entrepreneurship. And so I'm looking forward to, being engaged with other entrepreneurs, being engaged with students, potentially teaching, and kind of looking to contribute and learn and grow and contribute at the same time. So I think what I appreciate is that there are really substantive and meaningful investments within the university and in the community around innovation and entrepreneurship, which is incredibly exciting. The experience was tremendous, and I benefited in more ways than I can distill down into a soundbite. I think first and foremost, there was a tremendous community that provided regular and incredible feedback. Core to being able to develop as a person and an entrepreneur is getting regular feedback from experts, and I was incredibly appreciative of the experts that were available to us and really candid and honest about how we could improve. And then of course there was all the incredible educational content, some of which I had learned before, but revisiting it was incredibly valuable, and some of it was new, which helped me move the business forward in a variety of ways. Communicating what we do and being able to communicate it clearly to many different audiences takes a lot of practice. And so being able to have multiple opportunities to practice communicating with my mentor as well as the other incredible entrepreneurs in the group that had varying degrees of understanding of healthcare systems and nursing was incredibly helpful, because we were getting questions that were helping me better understand how to communicate nuances and when to provide more detail and when to stay away from too much detail that was not necessary in various contexts. Primarily to continue to refine our product, so by staying close to the customers. So this is something that I've learned over the years and was reinforced in the boot camp, that it's incredibly important to do continuous customer discovery as well as to get feedback early and often on the product. So currently we are getting feedback on the current version that we have, and we're making updates to the current version and developing other adjunctive technologies that can further augment the technology that we have, as well as starting to do early R&D into other technologies that are kind of proximal to what we're doing now that will add additional benefits. So the primary focus is going to be customer discovery and ongoing research and development. I absolutely would recommend it. It's been incredibly helpful for me, and I think that anyone can benefit from a program that is structured like this, that provides accountability and education and a supportive community that is available. And so yeah, I think that sometimes entrepreneurs really lack that structure. Oftentimes the work is very independent, and they can miss out on opportunities for growth and improvement and refinement if they don't have a community. And the community and the education were incredibly helpful, and so I would highly recommend anyone to participate. Well, you can learn more about me on LinkedIn or on my website, colinplover.com, and then you can learn more about the company from NightingaleCaringSolutions.com. So you can get through that through LinkedIn or through my website.
Okay. Letter dated February 10th, 2025. It's Dr. Colin Plover, Nightingale Caring Solutions. Dear Dr. Plover, it is with great enthusiasm that I welcome Nightingale Caring Solutions to Olympic City, USA. I applaud you for casting such a noble and worthwhile mission to improve the continuity of care for patients and to improve health outcomes. We are both thrilled and grateful that you have selected our great city as your new hometown. Thank you again for the privilege of being your new hometown. We are honored to roll out the red carpet and welcoming Nightingale Caring Solutions to our Olympic City, USA. Sincerely, blessing Yemi Mobolade, Mayor of Colorado Springs. Colin, please come up. That's his walk-up music?
Thank you so much for that incredibly warm welcome. I just want to reiterate how excited I am to be here and how grateful I am for this opportunity, not just because of the check, but because of this extraordinary community and the wonderful ideas that they have. And Luke has no shortage of wonderful ideas, and one of them was having us record some of those statements beforehand. He's like, if you get the jitters, if you get tongue-tied, at least you've got this video that we can edit as much as we need to. But what I didn't realize at the time, and what I realized when I was sitting in the audience was that I'm wearing the same tie. So we're gonna pretend like this was recorded earlier today and this morning and quickly edited. This is not my only tie, I assure you. I wanna reflect on something that Mark said. He said so many things that resonated with me, and one of them is the importance of having passion if you're an entrepreneur, the importance of believing in what you're doing. And I couldn't agree more, not only because that can help sustain you in what is incredibly challenging for many people, but because it gives purpose to what you're doing. And as a nurse, I'm deeply passionate about caring for people. I deeply want to make the world a better place. And I saw that, and you heard a little bit about that in my story, caring for patients, and feeling a lot of conflict that many nurses feel being pulled away from the bedside and being put in circumstances where you're being asked to do more than is humanly possible, and the moral distress and the anxiety that that can create. And so I was already passionate about caring for people, but as I was caring for patients in hospitals, I saw that there was this incredible need to create technologies that could really empower nurses to do what they're trained to do what they care about doing better and more efficiently. And so that's where the idea for Nightingale really came from. But passion is not enough. What you really need is a community that believes in you. And I've found that here, and I've been so moved by how caring and welcoming and supportive everyone has been. And so I really mean what I said, finding this community spectacular in that it is so innovative and entrepreneurial, but also kind and supportive. And so I just have so many thanks to give to Tom for starting this program, for Luke to running it like this extraordinary maestro. I mean, responding to emails within seconds, meeting with me and being so gracious before the program even started to answer all of my questions. And then to the incredible mentors in the program. And then upon arrival, being welcomed by Tommy and Larry and so many others here. And so I just want to express my incredible gratitude and excitement. So thank you so much for inviting me into your incredible community.
Awesome. Thank you, Colin. And with that, that does wrap up our program tonight. And but don't worry, there's more. In case you didn't get to see at the start, we do have some wonderful organizations and ventures from our community on the outskirts of tonight's venue. So if you haven't had a chance to chat with them yet, please take a moment to stop by and ask them what they're working on. There's some really cool projects going on, some really cool people, and this is the community. We're celebrating entrepreneurship, and these are our entrepreneurs, our programs helping the entrepreneurs. So can we just give another round of applause to Mark, Colin, Tommy, Larry, everything. And then I do want to say earlier when I had my headset on and I got all messed up with the mic and stuff, I forgot to make one important thing. And I just want to say it, but I got to thank God for helping me get to this point tonight. Last month has been crazy and my head almost exploded a couple times. And so without that, I would not be alive. So that would be bad. And I don't think I'd like that. But with that said, we have plenty of beer. There's some food left. So please mingle, enjoy, meet somebody you haven't talked to before, and make sure to check out some of these businesses around here. But thank you so much for coming tonight.